If you have leaky nipples, you're not going to want to miss this Ask Dave. I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind, to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
RX Television, RXMuscle.com. This is our live episode of Ask Dave. So you're going to have over the course of the next 30 minutes to get in your questions on the live feed, whatever is on your mind, be it bodybuilding or non-bodybuilding, be it diet, training, supplementation, anything having to do with the upcoming Royal Rumble. That's going to be taking place in Prague in November, on November 17th and 18th. Obviously, the big announcement, Chris Bumstead is going to be making his open class debut at Prague. Just confirmed Sean Clarita. Martin Fitzwater confirmed about a week and a half ago. Horse MD, the rumors, all sorts of rumors about possibly Rafael Brandao joining as well. That's going to be about, I think, a week after Romania. So you never know. Over the course of the next few days, you might get some more big names coming out of the woodwork for their shot at competing on the same stage as Chris Bumstead in the open class. We're going to go right into the questions. If you want to ask a question, ask in the live chat. We're going to be taking questions first, obviously, from the Dave Palumbo Experience app, and then a mix between our Instagram page, official_RxMuscle, our Facebook page, as well as our YouTube community page. But again, the first two questions from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. First question, question about bikini athletes. Any general guidelines for bikini athletes for carb loading, for fat loading protocols for contests? Bikini section is just getting popular in our country, so I don't know exactly which country they're from, but they would like to know as far as guidelines for fat loading and carb loading for bikini.
The different divisions, bikini, figure, wellness, bodybuilding, men's bodybuilding, it's all pretty much the same. The diet's the same. The training is the same. It's just cater to what the look of the athlete is. Now, bikini is obviously evolved over the years. It was a very soft look when it first started. Now it's a hard body look with glutes that don't have striations in them pretty much. So what I usually do is you got to get the person in shape first. So once the person's in the best shape of their life, they have abs and they have no fat hanging off their butt and they're tight, they might be a little too depleted for the bikini look on stage. So usually bikini girls can actually usually carb up a little bit more, assuming that they have a decent metabolism, than say, a woman's physique competitor might, or a figure competitor. Sometimes, you want them a little rounder. You might want to give them a little bit of a cheat meal. I find that women carb up very easily in one day. So if they have a Saturday morning show, I usually carb them up on Friday, the whole day. Some women have a really fast metabolism, and I see they're getting too depleted earlier in the week. I might start, trickling in carbs, all week long. I've had women I had to give a cheeseburger and fries to every day of the week, but those women have really fast metabolism. So you have to kind of go by what you're seeing and the look, which is tight abs, round glutes, but with not excessive fluid or, obviously I'm assuming you stripped off all the fat. So I usually do about 30 grams of carbs per meal times 5 meals. 150 grams of carbs like the day before a show. And that usually works out well. Now, if the woman happens to be really lean, I'll throw in like a sixth meal. Sometimes it'll be a burger and fries the night before just to smooth them out a little if they're too hard. If they're not too hard, I'll put in a sixth meal of like a clean type of situation, maybe a steak or a piece of salmon and a baked potato or something like that. So I've never really, I'd say for 98% of the women I work with, they're not eating more than, 100, 80 grams of carbs the day before a show. Then I give them carbs the day of the show. I usually give them like 30, 35 grams for 2 or 3 meals in the morning before they get on stage. And that seems to be enough, and I think I can't stress, women don't need to be fully carbed up, meaning that they don't need to have mind-busting, muscle pumps on stage. That's not what the judges are looking for. It's an aesthetic thing. It's lines. So you don't want to ruin their lines by overcarbing them either. So you want to just fill them enough to round off the glutes without blurring the abs and keep the delts a little fuller, but not, you don't need, crazy striations running through their shoulders. That's not what the judges are looking for. So it's a look. You have to know the bikini look and then kind of play with the diet until you get to that point. It's kind of a lot of experience too. When you do this long enough, you kind of know what to give people, and it's hard to quantify in terms of numbers and macros, but I don't change their diet. Like if they're eating, like I do most diets for women are like ketogenic diets. They do protein, fat most of the time, and they love it, or protein and vegetables. And then I just add carbs as needed. And I think that works really well for them. And they look good. They like the way they feel because their brain is functioning well. Other people have different protocols, and they all work, assuming that you have a protocol that you can follow. The great thing about the Dave Palumbo Experience app is that everything is in the app. You can see all the different diets and all the different protocols, off-season, pre-contest, all the PED cycles. It's all my writings and all my videos I've ever done. I do a Q&A video exclusively for the app every single week. So you get an extra Ask Dave, essentially. It's a really good tool. It's $29 a month. We have a lot of app members. A lot of people participate. I answer everyone's questions in an open forum, so everyone sees everyone's questions and everyone's answers. So it's a great learning experience if you're trying to become a coach, or you're trying to learn about the how nutrition works and diet and PEDs. I can't basically give you more of an encouragement to join the app. It's also a great little stocking stuffer with the holidays coming up. And I know a lot of guys say, hey, honey, you don't know what to buy me? Get me the subscription to Dave Palumbo's Dave Palumbo Experience. I appreciate the support.
Second question, again, these first two questions on the show from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Can you tell us the effect of progesterone hormone in the male body? If low, what can happen?
It's a lot of people think that men don't produce progesterone, but the steroidal synthesis pathway in the body, it starts with cholesterol. Cholesterol is the building blocks of all steroidal hormones. So if you don't eat any cholesterol in your diet, that's why when they tell you, oh, cholesterol is no good for you. No, you need cholesterol. Cholesterol is how you make, the steroidal compounds. And I'm not just talking about testosterone. I'm talking about estrogen in the women's body, progesterone in both bodies, all the mineral corticoids like, cortisone, aldosterone, these are all made, DHEA, all made in the adrenal glands, all made from cholesterol synthesis. So cholesterol converts to a precursor known as pregnenolone, which then converts to progesterone. So whether you're a male or a female, you're going to be producing progesterone. It's one of the precursor steroidal hormones. And then progesterone can turn into a million different things. It can turn into DHEA. It can turn into androstenedione, which can then turn into testosterone, which is what happens in women's bodies. And then the testosterone can convert to estrogen. There's a lot of different pathways. So what pregnenolone can do in a man's body is it seems to suppress the aldosterone receptors, which are the receptors that make you retain fluid. So if you have enough progesterone in your body, you don't tend to excessively retain fluid. If you have too little, sometimes you can get some fluid retention. What I find is that if you're eating a balanced diet with enough fat in it and some saturated fat, no man has a deficiency in progesterone because you're constantly producing it. I don't think putting progesterone into a man's body, from all the research I've read, is going to have any benefits whatsoever, because I don't think we're deficient in it. I think what we're deficient in is the end products of progesterone. So progesterone can convert to other stuff. And I think in a man's body, DHEA is important as we get older, because as testosterone drops a little bit, DHEA becomes more important. In a woman's body, DHEA is the muscle building hormone, because that's what converts to testosterone. Women don't have testicles. So for pregnenolone purposes in a man's body, I don't think it's even something you need to worry about. A lot of people confuse progesterone with prolactin. They're completely two different hormones. And, whereas drugs like DECA and Trenbolone can raise prolactin, which can cause nipple discharge, and we've talked about, that progesterone doesn't do that. And it's because it's a different hormone. And so progesterone has, like I said, in the steroidal synthesis pathway, and it's a precursor to making other hormones in the body. So I don't think that men need to mess with it. Was this the question they asked about the nipple discharge, Sid?
No, that's coming next.
Okay, all right, okay, because I know that you had...
Don't worry, we'll get to that one.
Yes, I'm not going to go. I won't go into that now then.
No. But you'll get into it now. But again, those first two questions from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Again, Apple, Google, whichever app, whichever phone you have, it's available. We are now going to take questions from the YouTube community page. So we started, recently we just started taking questions from the YouTube community page as well, in addition to our Instagram page or Facebook page. But we did want to experiment with the live format. That way we're getting live interaction with you, the fans, as well as getting your live questions, which is something we used to do way back in the day when Ask Dave first came out. I don't even remember what the program was called, Dave, if you remember what program we used to use to... Was it like livestream.com or something like that? I think that's what it was. Yeah,
livestream. Yeah, livestream.
Before, we started streaming live on YouTube, we used to be on livestream.com. But that's kind of how Ask Dave started. I mean, we would field questions, from our social media platforms, but it was more of a live setting. It was really cool. It was great to have that kind of a live interaction. So we figured let's tinker with having that again. Anyway, Sean P wants to know, so he says he stopped Tren months ago, but still has some leakage out of his nipple. Why is that?
All right, so this is good because this kind of piggybacks to the other question. Trenbolone and DECA can raise another hormone known as prolactin. In women who give birth, they release a tremendous surge of prolactin, and prolactin is what's responsible for the milk, coming out of the breasts. Obviously, men don't produce milk, but if your prolactin levels are too high, the glands, if you have them left, like, if you had them removed, from gynecomastia, you're not going to get this, but if you have the glands still in your chest, those glands can get a little bigger and they can start discharging like a mucousy secretion. That's known as prolactin-induced gynecomastia, whereas estrogen-dependent gynecomastia, which is what happens when estrogen levels are too high and the glands start to grow, you never get discharge from that. If you're getting a discharge, it means you have high prolactin levels. And the only thing that really causes high prolactin, aside from the fact that you might have a tumor, prolactin producing tumor, would be, if you're taking like a Trenbolone or DECA product, and some people are very sensitive to it, and it's usually dose related. Now, if you stop it, sometimes that hormone can stay high for a longer period of time. There is a drug known as cabergoline, or Dostonex is the brand name, that will block prolactin production. So usually if you take a 0.5 milligram of that a couple times a week, 2 to 3 times a week, that will get rid of that dischargey and that little sensitive feeling in the nipples, and it can actually make the nipple get smaller too. I mean, the glands get smaller a little bit. Prolactin is a little easier to control than estrogen is. Sometimes estrogen is a little harder, and obviously you don't want to bottom out your estrogen in your body either, because then you don't get a pump, you lose your sex drive, and you don't grow as well. So prolactin is really not necessary for any kind of muscle building effect. So it's okay if you kind of slam that down to the basement, but I wouldn't just go do it. I would react only if you're getting the side effects here, because there's nothing wrong with having a little prolactin in your body. Now, if you have too much prolactin, it can inhibit, orgasms. That's why, or erections, and that's why some people on DECA and Trenbolone have trouble getting erections. Usually, it doesn't happen with Trenbolone because it's so high in androgens, but with DECA, some people have what we call the DECA dick syndrome, and that's because, once again, prolactin is too high. So try cabergoline.
Dave, first of all, can you hear me properly?
Yes, your microphone sounds better now, whatever you did to
it. Yeah. No, somebody said in the comments to apologize to my audio, so that was my hint to go check settings, and so we're good. All right, so apologies to my audio. Is it possible you don't eat enough protein and where a body part can lose muscle to allow other parts to grow?
Say that again.
So I flashed it on the screen. Is it possible if you don't eat enough protein, I guess, and where a body part can lose muscle to allow other parts to grow, I guess, with a lack of protein?
It doesn't sound very logical what they're asking. So no, you're going to starve yourself of protein so that you can detrain one muscle, but then the other muscles are going to grow?
No, I guess the question is if that's sort of the body's natural response to low protein, I guess, and a protein deficiency. or deficient state?
I think just like in a carb and calorie deficiency, your body's going to lose body fat from the whole body, in a very even fashion, symmetrical fashion. If you don't eat enough protein and you lose muscle, you're going to lose it symmetrically. You're not going to just lose it from weak body parts or strong body parts. It's going to just be symmetrically taken evenly. And I think that that's just the way it works. Now, you might notice it more in a weak body part because that body part's weak already, but you lose it symmetrically, as far as I know.
So I mean, the question is pretty simple from Lenkiani. Your thoughts on CBum doing the open? Obviously, you've talked about this on a couple of different forums now, but I guess my question to you would be just as far as, I mean, again, we're only, 3 weeks removed from the Classic Physique Olympia. In your opinion, how much of an adjustment, I guess, realistically can, forget it, just Bumstead, but anyone make from competing in Classic Physique to making the necessary adjustments to stand in, not only against an open class lineup, but against one of the best in the world now in Martin Fitzwater?
Yeah. I don't think that he has what's his name? I don't think that Bumstead has anything he really needs to do differently. He's got a great physique already. If he did nothing different, and he looked exactly like he did at the Olympia, he'd probably he'd be top 5 for sure. I think that he'll probably have a little anabolic rebound off the Olympia, so he'll probably come in a few pounds heavier. He might even have had to bring his weight down a little bit to make weight, for Classic. I don't know, how close he was or what he does. And he can certainly come in a little fuller than he was at the Olympia, only because, he doesn't have to worry about a weight class now, and the dehydration factor is not going to be so much. He can kind of like plan and fill out a little bit more leading up to the show. So I suspect we'll see him about 3 to 5 pounds bigger. I would be shocked if he was like 10 pounds bigger. I think if he came in more than if he was like 10 pounds bigger than he was in Classic, I think that it might be a worse look for him. The worst mistake he can make is trying to come in too big and not being sharp enough, because the glutes, hamstrings that he brings to the table and the tiny waist with the nice vacuum. I mean, that's impressive. He's not going to put 10 pounds of muscle on his back in 6 weeks. You know what I mean? So it would be stupid to try to fill out his back too much and then come in and not have the detail in that lower back region. So I don't think that Hani would let him do that. And I think that he's smarter enough to not do that. So I suspect, like I said, we'll see a 3 to 5 pound bump in his weight, and he'll probably look bigger, and he'll probably look, better, but we might not notice it because he's going to be standing against a lot bigger guys. If we would have put that look against, maybe the Classic Physique lineup, we'd be like, holy mackerel, he looks so much better and so much bigger. But I think against the open lineup, we're still going to say, well, he could be a little bigger. But he does have a big structure, and he is 6 feet tall. So I don't think he's not going to be dwarfed by anyone. I think he's just his legs might look, smaller than like guys like Martin, and his back is going to look a little more shallow compared to those guys. But for the majority of the lineup, people are going to say, wow, his conditioning is better. He's got better shape and structure. And so he's going to beat a lot of guys that he's not bigger than, but that he's better than quality wise. And I think that should be his goal. And going into this show, if he tries to reinvent the wheel too much, he's going to screw himself up, and he's not going to do well.
Let's take a training related question. Although we're training heavy, 9 to 12-ish sets per body part, 6 to 10 reps per set, is it beneficial to do a high rep fail set?
What's up, Tony? Tony, one of my clients. I don't necessarily think that you need to do high. In other words, I think what happens is, I think guys that were high rep guys and high volume guys, they cut their volume back and they say, wow, it's working, right? I'm growing, I'm responding better. And then they say, well, yeah, I feel guilty. Maybe I should just do one high rep set at the end. And if I was Dorian or Mike Mentzer answering that question, I'd be like, well, you did your heavy set to failure, right? An incline bench press, let's say. The muscle's fatigued. You've torn down your micro tears to the majority of the muscle fibers because you activated a tremendous amount of fibers by lifting so heavy with full range of motion. What's the high rep set going to do at this point? That's a mental problem. People have. I did my heavyweight. Now let me do some high reps. No, you're overtraining the muscle at that point. So there's no reason to do that. You're not bringing in detail. You're not doing anything positive to the muscle that it's going to help make that muscle look bigger or better or leaner or anything like that. So avoid the urge to do too much. like because you think you haven't done enough because the workout didn't last, 3 hours long. It only lasted, 45 minutes. That's good. Brief, heavy, high intensity training is what builds muscle. Then go home and eat, or if you have cardio to do, you do your cardio, but whatever the case may be, don't overtrain in the gym. And don't think, well, I did everything right, but maybe I'll just throw a little extra set in there. That's the wrong mental urge to do. You got to stay away from that. And I think that it's a very common thing I see in the gym. People think, well, I'll do a burnout set. Well, what's that? You're going to burn your body out. There's no reason to force it into an overtrained state after you just adjusted your training so that it's not in an overtrained state. I hope that helps.
Let's take a question from our YouTube community page from Javier. Can I take glutathione for my kidneys? The doctors I go to say they have no idea.
Glutathione for the kidney. I don't think that glutathione necessarily will do anything positive for the kidneys. It can't hurt. Glutathione is an antioxidant. If you have a lot of oxidative damage at the kidney tubule interface, or you have a lot of inflammation, it can't hurt because it is a great anti-inflammatory. It is a great antioxidant, which means it neutralizes free radicals in the body. And so if your body is in a state of attack from inflammation, it can only help. Glutathione has been shown more so to be a good detoxifier, very healthy for the liver, good liver cleanser and detoxifier, heavy metal remover. But you know what? It can't hurt. It's not, in other words, there's no kidney toxicity to glutathione. And it's funny, I do like 200 milligrams a day. I get mine from obviously our good friends at TitanMedicalCenter.com. And I did when I was in Vegas, I did a little PRP IV from Dr. Kai, which is one of Dominic Natasio's friends, who he hooked me up with. We're going to get him on a show and talk about some of the stuff we did. And he pushed glutathione into an IV for me. I think he gave me like 5,000 milligrams in one shot, in one push, right into my veins. So a lot of people think that high dose glutathione, maybe once a month or something like that, can be super beneficial and healing to the body as well. I don't know how that would affect the kidneys. Like I said, it can't hurt. If you have kidney issues, the best product that I've seen, and that's why I sell it, I don't make it. It's called Kidney Stuff. I sell it at DavePalumbo.com. I can't tell you how many people who've had high creatinine levels have started using that, and after a couple months, their creatinine went down. The doctors were shocked. It definitely works. It's a great product, and that for sure. Like I said, I've seen it happen. I've seen the blood work changes. I can guarantee that works. Glutathione, you can try it. I'm not sure.
So the questions from Angry Vet. Now, I don't know if this is the same person. We had a show last week or a couple of weeks ago where they talked about the tuna diet, but I guess in their words, it was only tuna and water rather. So I guess this may be a follow-up to that. Says that the tuna diet is working great. I'm getting shredded, 7.5 weeks to go. Lots of cardio, spin bike daily, high intensity training as well. Assuming this is the same guy, we're talking about weeks and weeks on end with just tuna and water. Which, in your words, you said that was pretty aggressive. No?
Yeah. Well, you're not giving your body a fuel source when you eat tuna and water. So the fuel source is the tuna. There's no fat in tuna essentially. So what's going to happen is if it's pure protein you're eating, your body's going to convert a good percentage of that protein, might be 40%, 50%, who knows, into carbs, because the body can convert amino acids into glucose, gluconeogenesis, and it's going to use that as energy. It needs a fuel source, especially when you're doing high intensity training. So here you are eating all this protein with no fuel source, and you're not even keeping the protein as protein. So you're just converting some of it. So that's why, I tell people you're better off doing protein and fat, my ketogenic diet, with a high protein, moderate fat, so that the fat can be used as the fuel source because you'll be in ketosis for the brain and the body. And then, the protein can be preserved or saved for building and repairing muscle. Very rarely do we go to a pure protein diet or even protein and vegetables for a long period of time. It's usually not good because the body, once again, needs a fuel source. So we would only do that for a week or so if a person was a little behind and had to really burn a lot of fat. Women can handle that a little better, the protein vegetables, but even the women are having vegetables, and the vegetables have some carbs in them. So even though it might be a low amount, you're still giving your body a fuel source. So I'm not a big advocate of just protein diets unless like someone came to me and said, look, I got 5 days to lose 10 pounds. What do we do? You know, then you can do something extreme like that. But I wouldn't be doing that days on end and weeks on end.
So there's a question about coaching in general. Let me see if I can spot it exactly. There's a question about like almost kind of mocking how, where is this? Oh, it was in the live chat. Oh, why do pro bodybuilders have a coach to tell them what they've done the past 10 years? I mean, are they retards? I'm going to ask you this way because this has been sort of a hot topic of conversation lately over the last 3 weeks before, during, and after the Olympia. And that is about, I guess, the value of a coach, whether the role of a coach is sometimes overinflated. As a coach, what is a coach's job? What is sometimes excessive from a coach? And what should a client expect from a coach and perhaps not expect from a coach, if you want to answer from the perspective of a coach?
Well, you know, we did a great show on Heavy Muscle Radio this past Sunday night. Tom Natasio was on there, and Chris, him and I were talking about coaching and what a good coach is, and, you know, what some of these guys should look for. And it's really, you know, what you as a client are needing. If I'm a guy who's just, or a girl who's just entering the business and I don't really know what I'm doing, I get a lot of those first-time people who come to me because they're like, if they know about me. If they don't know about me, they usually go to, you know, someone else who's probably usually the wrong person to teach them. But you don't want to develop bad habits. So if you come to me right away and I teach you the right way to eat, take nutritional supplements, PEDs if that's in your plan, and show you the diet process, I'm training your brain in the right direction. I'm teaching you how to train properly. I'm teaching you about the right way to do cardio. Then if you go to other coaches down the road, that's fine, because at least your brain is thinking in the right direction, and you can weed out the bad coaches from the good coaches. You're going to be like, Dave taught me how to do all this. I know that this guy doesn't know what he's talking about because I know more than him because Dave taught me the right way. Then you can weed out. Some people don't care about the science, though. Some people just want to be told what to do. They do not care. They don't want to know. They just want to mindlessly have someone send them directions every single day. And those people will get the coaches to give, you know, that daily kind of attention. They usually charge more of those people, which, as they should, because it's going to be more costly if I'm going to text you every single day or call you every single day and give you, you know, what to eat and what to do. And that's fine, because those people really don't need the knowledge. They need more of a psychological, you know, coach who's going to be there for them just because they're very needy. But for the person who wants good results and wants to learn what they're doing and wants, you know, the right science being projected on them because they don't know what to do themselves, that's where I get a lot of clients in that category who say, I want to learn what's going on here and I want to do this the right way. I don't want to make mistakes. And Dave answers every question as far as, you know, why are we doing what we're doing? You know, because I'll never say, just do it because I said. Coaches that tend to bully people and say, do it because I said, or they don't really have an answer, I would never do well with a coach like that. But there are some people that don't care. They like to be told what to do. I think what you should watch out for is coaches that try to manipulate you into doing things that you don't want to do, maybe taking drugs that you don't want to do as a woman or even as a man, or try to get you to, you know, compete in things that you don't really want to because they have some favors that are going to be, you know, paid to them. So that's manipulative coaches is something you should look out for. Or people who pretend that they have knowledge, but they really don't, and they might be putting you in danger because they're just kind of doing extreme things with you. Those are the red flags as far as I'm concerned. And if you want to learn more about what Chris and Dom said, you can watch, I said, Heavy Muscle Radio from this past week. It was a really, really good show. But you have to find who resonates well with you and who you feel like, you know what, I can relate to that person.
See, I think what you just described, again, that is the role of a coach. I think, and again, I don't want to bring up, just say Matt Jansen, but again, that was a focal point of the controversy, right? The video with him and Nick Walker, right? Because that kind of created this whole conversation as far as, okay, what are the limits of the job of a coach, right? And again, I'm not saying this to throw him under the bus. I'm just saying this is a general topic of conversation. What do you feel is going too far? What do you feel is, again, you said it, look, some clients, they do want someone who's a little bit more hands-on as far as almost being a borderline psychologist to kind of hold their hand and take them through this.
Yeah.
But what is the limit in your opinion as far as, all right, look, beyond this is not the confines of my job responsibility?
Right. Well, it's funny because one of my favorite Woody Allen movies, if anyone even knows who Woody Allen is out there anymore, it was called Broadway Danny Rose, where he plays like an agent for like acts, like Hollywood acts, but loser acts, like birds that sing and all kinds of weird stuff like that. And he had a great line. It was funny, but I always apply it to life too. He says, when you're dealing with people, friendly but not familiar. That means you can be friendly with people and you can interact with them because you're doing you're having a business transaction. You're trying to be their mentor or teacher, but don't get too close to them, because if you do, that sometimes screws up the relationship. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't have a lot of clients that I'm super close to and are really good friends of mine, but I'm just saying in general, especially if you're working with someone, at a high level, sometimes if you start getting involved in their personal life and giving them advice about their, it might be too much. It could strain the relationship. I think a lot of people also, coaches, have very big egos and they get upset, if someone decides they want to go work with someone else and they start guilting them, or sometimes even, using manipulative tactics like to threaten them. And I think that's bad, because you know what? I think that, look, I wish I could keep every client for their whole entire career that they compete. But some people like to try other stuff, and that's fine as long as they're honest and they come to you and say, hey, look, I want to, try a different coach or whatever. A lot of times, most of the time, they come back to me. So, but if they don't, it doesn't matter. There's plenty of people out there that you can work with. So you want people to want to work with you, and you shouldn't have to manipulate them into doing that. And when I see that happen, especially I see a lot of women being taken advantage of in that sense, it bothers me, because that's just not right. And I think that's crossing the line.
So I feel as if we need a little bit more context. I'm really not sure what they're referring to. They're saying, someone is saying that Dr. Sonny Andrews, wellness competitor, wellness Olympian, outed Dave's diuretics protocol like it was unhealthy for his clients. Can you elaborate on it? Do you have any knowledge of what she may or may not have said about your diuretics protocol?
I have no idea, but I mean, my diuretics protocol pretty much amounts to a half a diazide the night before a show. I don't see how that there's any danger to that. Maybe she doesn't know my diuretic protocol. It's not very extensive. It's not even very hard to tell people. I tell them take a half a diazide the night before their show. Sometimes maybe the morning, the day before in the morning, if they have to make weight. So I'd love to see what she said, because maybe I can respond to it in a video. But if you guys send me the link, I'll take a look at it. And I can't imagine. It's funny because if I had this elaborate diuretic protocol, I'd be like, all right, well, maybe she's got some points. But and I'd love to debate her, because she's, she actually has ostensibly she graduated from medical school, so this would be a good debate. So I welcome it. So guys, send us the link and we'll check it out.
What to do if you feel depressed on EQ and test? What is it with EQ that makes some people feel really crappy on it?
I never heard that. My whole career that I was doing is that everyone always feels really good on EQ. Usually it opens up your appetite, you get hungry, you get really good pumps on it. There's really no toxicity to it. I never heard of people getting depressed on it. And then you hear this, like, it's almost like an urban legend. You start hearing people, one person says it and then other people say, so it shouldn't cause depression. There's really nothing that it does to the body that would cause that. And I always wonder when people start reporting that if they're using fake drugs, or I just don't. I would love to know the mechanism of how that it does that. It doesn't seem to have a mechanism that would cause depression, and I don't know a hell of a lot of people who've complained about that. So, when I don't know something, I pretty much say I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me, and I wonder if people. Some people are just prone to depression, and maybe sometimes if androgen levels get too high in their body, it can trigger some stuff. But it shouldn't. I would be more apt to believe that maybe like Trenbolone caused some issues, because that really raises androgen levels really high in the brain. And some people it makes them euphoric, and some people it makes them depressed. Some people it makes them psychotic. That would be more believable. So maybe the EQ is not really EQ and it's something else, or possibly, they're having a weird reaction to the drug. But it doesn't. There's really no mechanism, like I said, that EQ would cause depression.
If on a fat loss diet in general, out of the 6 meals a day, how many should include starchy carbs like rice, potato, or oatmeal? I always hear to only have starchy carbs post-workout and green veggies for the rest of the meals.
And this is off season or pre
Fat I guess in a fat loss diet.
I mean, you have to figure out how many carbs you need per day, to lose weight. So let's say your body needs 150 grams of carbs. And if you eat less than that, okay, you're going to lose body fat. And if you eat more than that, you start glycogen loading and it stops the fat burning process. Whether you eat starchy carbs like rice or potatoes or oatmeal, or you have vegetables that have some net carbs in them, whatever the net carb total is, it's the same thing essentially. So, I mean, if you're going to eat vegetables, it's because you probably can't handle more carbs. In other words, like some people can handle, they get their carb content in 3 meals, and then they're like, well, what am I going to do the rest of the meal? So you eat green, vegetables like asparagus or green beans, because there's really no net carbs in those things. So you can get away with that. But if I knew that my body could eat, say 200 grams of carbs a day, it was my sweet spot. So I need to eat a little bit less than that, and I'm going to lose body fat. I would spread it out over. I would eat starchy carbs leading up to 180 grams of carbs, whatever, if that was my number. And I would spread it out over my 5 or 6 meals. Why eat it in 2 meals and then torture myself the rest of the day with no carbs? It's not going to make you efficiently lose weight any better. So whether you eat it in 2 small meals or 2 big meals a day, or you eat it spread out, it's the same amount of carbs. Think about glycogen storage in the muscles and the liver as a gas tank in your car. It can only hold so much. So whether you put the carbs in 2 meals or you put it in 6 meals, it's the same amount of gas you're putting into the tank. So it's going to store it either way. You might as well spread it out so you feel better and your brain has like even energy all day long. Otherwise, you're going to have really high amounts of energy at those 2 meals. And then the rest of the day, you're going to be low. And your brain's going to be like, I'm hungry, even though you ate all your carbs already earlier in the day. So it doesn't make sense when people do that. The only time I would do something like that is if the person's only eating like 80 grams of carbs a day, and I'm giving them like maybe 40 over 2 meals or something like that, or I spread over 3 meals because that's all they're getting, and then I have to do vegetables the rest of the day. That's the only time I would do that. But if you're eating a decent amount, you might as well spread them out throughout the day.
Let's take a question from the live audience. There's a question about Dorian's training regimen. Thoughts on modifying Dorian's high intensity training to add 2 sets to failure instead of 1?
That's what I did. I couldn't do just 1 set. So what I would do is I would go to the gym. I still train exactly the same way. I go to the gym. I warm up on bench press, let's say, incline bench press, and I do about 4 sets. And my last 2 sets are the working sets. So it's heavy and then my heaviest. Then I go to the dumbbells. I'm warmed up already at this point. So I'm only going to do 2 sets. I go heavy and then my heaviest set. And then I go to the cable crossovers or dumbbell flies, and I'm already warmed up. I do 1 set to failure. That's it. And I might do 1 machine, for 1 set or 2 sets to failure. And that's it. That's 100% what I do. And the only reason I do 2 sets versus 1 set is because I don't feel comfortable going to a dumbbells or going to a machine and loading it up with as much weight as I can do. I kind of want to get an intermediate set in there, but I don't go light. I go heavy and then heaviest. And once again, it's minimal sets. It's high intensity, and I'm still lifting the same weights I would if I did double the amount of sets. So I'm getting the benefits out of it without overtraining my muscles. And 100%, I love that set. I couldn't do the 1 set thing either. I think it's too little, but the 2 sets works great after that first warm-up exercise.
Is it necessary to match the amount of test against Primo or Deca? For example, 300 Deca needs at least 300 test.
I usually go double. So I'm always like, if you're going to do 300 Deca, I like to do 600 milligrams of testosterone. But that's for growth purposes. When we talk about HRT, like some guys do HRT low dose cycles, low dose cycles. Like if you're doing HRT 100 milligrams of testosterone a week or 200 milligrams of testosterone a week, you might do 200 milligrams of Deca a week with it, just for a couple of weeks, 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 weeks. And then go back to your HRT. That's different. But if you're doing full-blown cycles to grow, I really think testosterone should be double. So if you're doing 500 milligrams of EQ a week, you do 1,000 milligrams of testosterone with that. And that seems to work really well, that testosterone to anabolic ratio. I know some guys think, well, I'll just do more. I'll do 500 EQ, 500 test. I don't think it works as well. the testosterone is the main muscle building hormone in the body. If you want to maximize how much muscle you put on and get that girthy thickness that you see these top level bodybuilders get, you have to take testosterone. That's what does it. And I always found, and I experimented with my clients, myself, the 1,000 milligram per week mark seems to be the sweet spot. When you hit that spot, that's when you seem to get the best gains.
Oh, here we go. 950 test levels from Sam Steven. 950 test level. Your thoughts on a cycle without test?
I'm not at. What's the question?
I guess their test level. I don't know the test level.
Is there total testosterone 950? Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm gathering.
Well, that's pretty high, so that's naturally at your the high normal physiological value. If you decide you want to do a cycle to get more gains, it doesn't matter whether you're low or high, because that's going to get erased. Because as soon as you start taking an exogenous source of testosterone, that's going down to zero. The natural levels are going to zero. You're not going to produce any anymore. So it doesn't even matter, because the exogenous amount is so much greater that's where you're going to make your gains from. So once again, whether you're 250 or 950 naturally, when you take your cycle, you're going to still take an effective dose, which to me would be assuming that you're not a beginner, would be in like the 750 to 1,000 milligram range per week.
So now this is, I guess, more of a general statement. Obviously, your philosophy, if you want to build muscle, you have to lift heavy. It's from Judd and Wen. I know Dave hates high reps, but after having both shoulders replaced, I find that lighter weight with high reps to be beneficial over heavy weight. So I'm going to guess, given the context, the fact that he had both shoulders replaced, if you're looking for injury prevention, your thoughts in terms of having better results off lighter weights.
Look, once I stopped competing, it doesn't matter what you lift anymore, right? Because I'm not trying to get any bigger really, or I'm just trying to, feel good in the gym. So yeah, I still lift the way I still do. I lift heavy, but what I consider heavy now is not what I considered heavy back then. I'm not trying to, do 405 in the bench press anymore. So, and I'm certainly not looking to get injured. So yeah, I'm doing a little bit higher reps. I'm not maybe going down to 4 reps, but if I get on dumbbell presses, I'll grab the, 75, 80 pound dumbbells and I'll do 6 reps with them. And I had 2 shoulder replacements and I feel good at that. Can I handle more weight? Probably a little bit more, but I don't, because I don't need to push to that level where I might hurt myself. But I'm also, so I'm limiting myself weight wise, so I don't, injure myself, but I'm still not doing super high reps. My body does not respond well to 20 rep sets or 15 rep sets. Just doesn't. It's because as soon as I feel like the muscle is not working anymore and I'm getting fatigued because I'm doing high reps, I start cheating. When you start cheating, you're not really working that muscle anymore. So there's no reason, even if you're lifting lighter weight, to cheat, just to say, oh, I did 15, 20 reps because I'm doing lighter weight than I normally do. You're not getting any benefit out of that, and you're creating bad habits because you're using the wrong muscle groups when you're training the muscle you're trying to target. And that's why I don't like that. So yeah, I don't lift as heavy, but I still use the same strict form, and I'm still doing the same, 4 to 8 or 4 to 10 rep range that I normally do, depending on how heavy the weight is.
Take a couple more questions. I've been training for over 15 years, but I can't get the same good contraction in my right biceps as I can with my left. I think this might be nerve related. Is there a way to I can stimulate this for better mind muscle connection, perhaps by pinning in that area?
Yeah, there's definitely some evidence to suggest that, if you spot inject an area, it creates a little bit of inflammation in that area. I was having trouble with my upper chest, inner upper pecs when I was competing, and I would put like a half cc of testosterone in each inner upper pec before I would go to the gym, and it would create just enough inflammation there that when I would be doing my bench presses, I actually felt it more because it was irritated. So I actually was able to squeeze that area better, and it made me more aware of it. Whereas sometimes if you don't have enough muscle in an area, it's hard to contract that area because you just don't have enough muscle. It's not even the mind-muscle connection, it's you just don't have enough muscle there. So when you get that little bit of inflammation in that area, now you can feel the inflammation and you can contract through that. So yeah, I think that while you're not going to get really localized muscle growth from putting it there, I think it helps you with the mind muscle connection. And like I said, if you're having some problems with feeling that area for whatever reason, if it's nerve related or injury related, that could help for sure. But if there's no nerve innervating that area because it's being pinched in your neck or something like that, you're probably not going to see benefits, but it can't hurt. So I would definitely give it a shot.
We'll take one more question. So this one, again, we're talking about the topic of coaching, and that seems to have been one of the hotter topics over the last couple of weeks. Do you think that for the Mr. Olympia 2025 and perhaps going forward, they should give and again, I don't even know if this is applicable to bodybuilding, but a Coach of the Year award, like they do say in the NBA, for example, so that coaches can raise their level and the competitors improve? Do you think that, I know you had suggested something, not say similar, but, in the same conversation years ago, where we should do some sort of an award at the Olympia for media member of the year, right? Something that's really elevated the, coverage of bodybuilding or what have you. And do you think there is a place for having a quote unquote Coach of the Year award in bodybuilding?
Here's the problem with that. It sounds great in theory, but it creates a corruption aspect to the whole thing, because now people are it's like trying to win the Heisman Trophy. You have the Heisman Trophy. You can't win the Heisman Trophy now unless you have 14 reels of plays that you're sending off to all the sports writers and everything like that. What happens is people start campaigning, almost like they're running for president, to win the Coach of the Year award, because they know that that's going to get them more business. So I think there's a level of corruption that can sneak in there. And then what happens if one of these coaches do something dangerous and someone gets hurt? Now the Olympia is awarding someone who's dangerous some award. It's like kind of like they're complicit with the person. I don't think it would work out, only because our industry is so the way it works with PEDs and stuff like that. I don't think that would be something that would be good. To award the best media guy or the best social media person, I think would be great, because there's nothing in there that you can kind of have the fans vote on that if you want, and that would be fun, I think. But I think once you get Coach of the Year, it's like there's too much corruption potentially there. Who's paying who behind the scenes? And you start getting people, throwing money at people because they want to win the award, because they know that that's going to make them more business. And I think that just it starts getting like real politics, like you start getting donors donating money to people so that they can vote for this person. I just don't think it would work out. I think we acknowledge the coaches that are good by the fact that their athletes are winning, the Olympia title or placing well. And we talk about those. I said Samson Dowd's wife is the Coach of the Year because Samson won the Olympia. I said it tongue in cheek, but it's true. I mean, obviously she helped them, and they both won together. So that was great. But I don't think we should have an award.
I wanted to squeeze this one as well from Whistle Hunter. My question on TRT: is it normal to have symptoms, nausea, tiredness, no energy, if I miss my dose after 10 days?
Nausea, vomiting, that sounds like you're sick. It's funny, bodybuilders, we're so healthy and we eat so well and we train and we sleep and we rest. When we get sick, and I have this happen all the time. All my clients, they said something's wrong. I think that the drugs I'm taking are no good. No one ever can blame it on the fact maybe I just got sick, especially guys that coming off the Olympia, the people went to see the Olympia. Everyone gets sick at the Olympia, and everyone's like, I don't know what happened to me. Larry contacted me, Larry Paul. He was like, I don't know what's happened to me. I don't know if I was poisoned. I said, Larry, you just got sick. It's the Olympia. But bodybuilders don't get sick a lot. I used to get sick every year when I would come off cycle for like 8 or 10 weeks. I would always catch some kind of like cold or virus or something like that. It happened all the time because, your immune system drops a little bit. But there are times, and when you come off, that your immune system is run down a little bit. It's not as vigorous, and you're more prone to getting sick. And it sounds like this is what happened. The guy went off, he hadn't taken a shot in 10 days. Maybe his immune system dropped a little bit. He was exposed to something and he got sick. And so it happens, if obviously if it doesn't go away in 2 weeks, then something's wrong. But most of the time, people after a couple of days feel better. It usually happens. Someone contacts me, I can't eat. All of a sudden, I have no appetite. What am I doing? Should I stop taking this? Should I stop? I said, listen, it's only been a day or two. Let's see how you feel in a few days. And usually when the weekend passes, they're like, oh, I feel better now, and I'm eating again. So we do get sick. We are mortal. So keep that in mind.
That's going to do for this live episode of Ask Dave. Again, we appreciate all the live questions, all the live feedback.
Oh, you said who won the Olympia predictions contest? Do we have those results? Because people are asking.
We do have the results. Full disclosure, guys. I mean, ever since I got back from the Olympia, I got sick. I was in bed for a week. Then I went to Dubai for the
you
Dubai
got sick
Muscle
too.
Show.
So even Sid got sick.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just catching. We look, the winners that we announced, like we said before, those were premature. Google Sheets kind of gave us the wrong readout. We do have the correct answers. So the thing is, look, I could just write out the names and post them on Instagram, and then you have your winners. But what I want
them
to
on
do
Instagram, and then we'll send out the prizes.
Well, that too. But the thing is, the reason that it's taking time is because I want to not only announce the winners, but their picks, because I don't want any accusations of, favoritism or there's anything shady going. So I just want to put out the full transparency as far as the names of the winners as well as their picks, so that everybody knows these are the ones they picked. These are the exact amount of points that they accumulated. But again, the names that we initially announced, my apologies, but those were incorrect. Yeah. We got the wrong readout. The spreadsheet that I got from the back end that had the whole picture. Yeah, those are the winners. Those will be announced. So yes, now that I'm catching up, I'm back in New York. I'm gonna compile whatever the winners as well as their picks, so that I could put those out together, so there are no accusations of anything shady.
No one's getting shady. No one's getting shady.
Exactly. We're not awarding this. It's not like some big time influencer was one of the winners and we wanted to tilt in their fair. These are people we've never heard of before.
One is in the United States. John Bravo to do a video on us. Said, "Come on."
Yeah, exactly. One is in the United States. One is in the United Kingdom, and one I believe is in what was it? Poland, Dave? It was like a European country.
Something like that.
Yeah, exactly. We were talking about the logistics of sending them prizes and cash and whatnot. So anyway, yes, you'll have that answer in a couple of days. My apologies for the incorrect readout in the first place, and for the delays. The first time we did anything like this, now that we'll get this all sorted out, we'll do it again for Prague, and we'll certainly do it again for the Arnold Classic. So, but yeah, give me a couple of days. We'll get this all resolved, and we'll get it out to you. So, but again, we appreciate all of you joining in for this live Ask Dave. We're going to be, look, this is the kind of thing I think we're going to be doing going forward as far as this forum. So again, if you have your questions, you could ask us on our social media platforms, but you could also join us live, and then we'll start to bring back some of the old elements as well. Some of the best question of the day, or the best I hate this show, blah, blah, blah. We'll give out some species freebies as well. Again, assuming that you're in the continental United States. We do not want to be sending stuff all over the world. Not my thing, but just for the higher ups, it's a bit of a pain in the butt. That said, if you like what you're watching, hit the like button, comment below. If you haven't already subscribed, hit the notification bell so you're not going to miss any live shows that we have coming up or any videos we have. We have a ton of videos coming up. Dave has recorded a whole library of health-related videos that we're going to be dispersing over the course of the next few days. I did a bunch of interviews from the Dubai Muscle Show. We're talking the likes of Kevin Levrone, Kai Green, Flex Wheeler, Dexter Jackson. Did I mention Hani Rambod? Yeah. I'm like blanking. There's so many interviews that I did, but anyway, they're long form interviews. They're very heartfelt interviews, and we had like a professional recording crew there, so the video quality, the audio quality should be top notch. So they should be enjoyable. They're very deep. Kevin Levrone, touched on a lot of the aspects of his early career, his motivations in the bodybuilding, obviously everything that he went through early in life. Losing both his parents, and how that just was such a driving force for everything that he did in the gym, on the bodybuilding stage, and what a success he's become now as far as for his supplement line, which is now 90 countries around the world. So anyway, a lot of good deep information, good deep informative talk. So we're gonna have a lot going up over the course of the next week and a half or so on the channel. So subscribe below, hit the notification bell. Again, if you like what you're watching, hit the like button, comment below, and as always, we appreciate all of your support. We'll do this again live next week. We'll tell you exactly the time so that you're aware. But for Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.